Gentleman's Guide.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to the Gentleman's Guide podcast, where we seek to unpack manhood one day at a time.
You sure?
Yeah, we here, man.
You positive?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get it.
That's the goal. Yeah.
That's the
As
goal.
you can see, I got my brother here.
Yeah, man. J-Rod, man. Pastor Gerard. J-Rod. Reverend, whatever you want to call me,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Your friend, your boy, man. I'm here. Glad to be here. And it's been a minute since I've had an opportunity to be with the podcast. And I know you've had done a lot of things in between, but man, I'm glad to be here. And so what we got today, man? What we talking about today, bro?
Well, I'm your host, B. Barnes, and we talking about fatherhood. All things fatherhood.
Yes,
We're trying
sir.
to start the conversation. Obviously, it's going to be a series. Well, not obviously, but if you guys didn't know by now, this is going to be a series talking about the details, the intricacies of fatherhood.
Okay.
Our personal experiences, what we learn, throughout our lives, the older we're getting, the more kids we have. But that's what we're doing
You
here.
throwing shots?
No, man.
Okay. All right, look. For those who do not know, just so you know, I have 3 children, which is seemingly a lot in this climate as far as, the world we live in today. I have 3 and another one on the way. So this will be it.
Hey,
4
man.
is all I can handle.
Hey, man.
Me, my 4, no more. And all girls. So pray with me.
Pray with him.
Let's
as
go.
He travels down this journey
Yes, sir.
of fatherhood. But no, man, we're trying to unpack fatherhood. We got some general questions that we want to ask. And we want to really just offer our perspective, have a conversation. Let's talk about it. So we're going to dive right in. Is that cool with you? We're going to dive? All right, man. So first thing that I want to talk about is, I call it the the fly on the wall syndrome. How did you feel going through the first process of your wife bringing in the first child into the world? How
In
was
the
that
hospital?
experience? In the hospital,
Okay.
visits,
Yeah.
the day of birth,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Like I was nothing. I was treated, and that's really kind of what it was. It wasn't. Now, let me first preface it and say this. Number one, it is all about the woman
For sure.
and that child and the health of, in my case, my wife and the child that being born at the time, to be born at the time.
Right.
Whether it be doctor's visits or whatever the case may be. It is not about the man. And I'm going to say that again. It's not about, was not about me.
Right.
I understood that. I was okay with that. Because at that point, my job is to support
Right.
my wife through whatever emotional drama, struggle, whatever that she's facing in that moment.
Right.
Because they're the one that they're the ones that have to carry that child. All that good jazz. So let me preface that. Don't want nobody coming at me the wrong way. Let me put that out there. But I'll speak specifically to in the hospital with our first child. I felt dismissed as if I didn't matter. And this was not from my wife. Again, I know it's not about me. It's about the health, the well-being, the safety, having a healthy birth and that woman and, whatever. As my grandfather would say, childbirth is the closest. The woman comes closest to death in that moment. That is a very, 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 very intimate and intentional moment that we have to be really, as he would say, pray and seek God about, as I did. Yeah. So I get it, but I felt dismissed, and it was, and I knew it was something, but it was from the nurses, from everything, as if I didn't matter. And it was, and so after we got through, we had our first child, Hampton, and we had our first child. I was talking to a nurse, and I was kind of making, kind of talking about it, kind of making light of it, and talking about it. And we talked about it. And she was like, "Well, Mr. Barnes, you'll be amazed at how often we assume, right, that the male there is the husband and it's an uncle, or it's a boyfriend, or you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, I'm the daddy. Like, she got my name. This baby gonna have my name. Like, it just feeling, and it was like, you'll be amazed how often, and we've done that in different situations where you assume something, you see somebody, oh, that's a beauty, that's your grandchild. They look good. Like, no, that's my baby. That's my baby child. But the mama or dad look old. And the child, Anyway,
another conversation.
Another conversation of the day. My point is, assuming it does exactly how it's spelled. It does what it's spelled to do. Assume. If you know what I'm saying, you get what to get it. My point was that's I had that conversation where I'm like, yo, like, just kind of felt. She was like, but you'd be amazed. And then this is another thing for our African American community, our males. They say you'll be amazed at how often we see the same man come in this hospital, right, with different women, with different babies. And so when putting that in perspective with them, it made me, I wouldn't say I was okay, but it made, one, I was proud to be in, not no judgment to nobody, but I was proud to be in the position that I was in, me and my family and my household. But also it made me, I was cool. I wasn't mad or nothing in it, but I just kind of know, like, dang, well, they don't give bothers no love.
Because at the end of the day, it ain't about you.
Again, yes, and I understand that. Because again, I got to continue to preface that, like, but it's like,
it's a feeling.
Yeah, but it's that feelings, and at the end of the day, it was intentionally done on their end, and I understand why, because mother has the baby. You're like, oh man, you the father. You don't know what type of situation they had with that daddy. You don't know what type of traumatic experience they might have had in that relationship, and now they're bringing forth this child, and you're suggesting this or suggesting that, and now you got the mom in this emotional state all in an uproar because you said something or you assumed something, and it wasn't the case. So I understood it. I got it. But by the time I got to the third child, trust and believe, they knew your boy, and they treated me like a kid.
Back again.
But that was that. I'll let you have it from there. I hope that makes sense. But that the fly on the wall, that's what my experience was with
man.
that.
Like I said, I call it the fly on the wall syndrome because, like, again, it's not about you. You just really there to observe, to support, but just because it ain't about you, or just it's still an experience of a father. You know what I mean?
Man. Yeah,
in that situation.
Somebody who wants to be a father,
and it's something that you need to talk about. You know what I mean? So again, understanding that you're not the center of attention. We live in a world where we live in a patriarchal society where the man is assumed to be the head of
everything,
a company, anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when we in these moments where the man is not the center of attention, the feeling is valid. Because again, this is how we've been socialized to think to a degree.
Good point.
But again, at the end of the day, it's all about the health and well-being of that mother and that child.
Exactly. Exactly.
But moving on I want to move on to this next question. Is when your wife was pregnant with your first child, and you go through the process. She's pregnant. You go through these visits, and you finally get to the day of birth, and what through this whole process, when did it really hit you that like I'm a father, I'm a daddy, like I'm somebody's daddy, and like when did that awakening, or when did that happen? You know what I mean?
I'm gonna let you go first.
I'll say like
so Brennan, when was that awakening moment? That aha moment, when you realized that you were somebody's father,
bro. It was
you were out of pappy. When you realized I was a pappy,
boss. Look here, it was two times. It was one that it kind of flipped the switch. It was the first night in the hospital, and Gab is sleeping. She's like halfway drugged up because she didn't have a natural birth. She had the epidural. She had a C-section. It was an emergency C-section, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But
that she came through.
She came through.
Yeah, we're talking.
You know what I'm saying? Baby healthy, everything. You're smart. But first night in the hospital, and Gab is asleep. Ain't no nurse around. They chilling, and I got little Brandon Jr. on my chest, and I'm in a recliner, which really wasn't that comfortable. Like they need to invest in some comfortable recliner. But that's another conversation.
But they did it in my hospital though. They did it in my hospital. Go ahead.
I'm jealous. But anyway, back to my point. All I was saying is the first night in the hospital, Brandon's on my chest. I fell asleep, and I woke up, and I realized this wasn't a dream. This was real life. And I was like, yo, this little still here.
Yeah,
like,
just a little ninja.
He ain't going nowhere. And I'm that baby's daddy. Like, I was like, yo, this is real life. And then when it really hit me, was when we put him in the car seat and we drove home. and it was a very, very emotional moment for both of us. Like, when it's your first kid, it's just different. For those out there who's watching, who's listening right now, when you have multiple kids, we all know the first child is just different, and it's the first child. Everything.
It's the first child. Yeah,
but, it's the first time we put him in the car seat.
Yep.
And don't let me get
driving on the road.
Don't get me started on the car seat. I was so frustrated. That thing was so complicated. It's so simple now, but when you ain't never did a car, put a baby in the car seat, I was like, am I choking them? Am I?
Yeah,
you don't know. But that aside, it was a surreal moment. It was an outer body experience, and I specifically remember. And Gab, she gonna be watching this and be like, I remember like it was yesterday.
I bet
she probably gonna be crying, but it was not Anita Baker, but it was Layla Hathaway's. My Angel was playing on the radio.
Her
literally, and we didn't plan it, but it just happened the way it happened. And Gab, you just the mom, all the hormones and stuff.
Yep,
you had a bad. She's emotional, and I was like, yo, this is like a scene out of a movie, and it was crazy, bro. Like, but that's when it really hit me. That's when it really hit me, and I would never forget it because that's the day that Brandon Allman Barnes's world changed for the better. But it definitely changed. The veil was removed from my eyes, and
because almost like that 9 months, like it goes by fast, but sometimes slow. But then it's like it don't hit you during that 9 months.
Obviously, we know as the mom, your body's changing from day one. You got these cravings. You feel the baby kicking. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that whole process. I loved when my wife was pregnant. And I loved rubbing her belly. And, she had these random pickle cravings and collard green. Like, she only eat collard greens. She was eating collard greens like left and right.
That's crazy.
It's crazy how, but that's another, how, the body knows what it wants. Right. But I enjoyed that whole process of going to the doctor, seeing the ultrasounds, hearing a heartbeat. I enjoyed everything.
All that. I recorded everything. I did.
I loved it. It was awesome to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is, I know for me personally, I always knew I wanted kids, even when I was a kid. Like,
yeah.
Some people know. Some people don't know. They on the fence. Then you meet the right person, whatever. But for me, I knew I always wanted kids. So this was like, it's like my wildest dream.
It's here now. It's
coming true and right in front of my eyes. And it's like just hearing a human heartbeat inside of another. Like, the thought of that just kind of blew my mind.
I know. Sometimes we take it for granted because it's like we say, it's so normal. Yeah. Which it is, but at the same time, when you're experiencing that for the first time, even for me, second time, third time, I've experienced it 3 times, and I have not been able to experience it with this child in the same way because of COVID. And I just the other day, and I know this might be a side note, but I left work. I had the first hospital visit, or the first doctor's visit rather, that Brittany had. I'm getting off work, told I'm on the road. Brittany kind of gets there before me. She comes like, babe, you can't come in. I'm like, what you like? No, I'm like, no, I work for the state. I get tested every day.
I pay my taxes.
I did. I'm like, nah, I'm coming in. She was like, nah, like, no, only those who are being treated, so that being women could come in. So couldn't even come inside the waiting area. You know what I mean? So that's been different because every area of engagement that I've had as a father, pre-birth, the birth of the child, I have not been able to engage in the same way. Let me say that, in the same way. I think for me, that awakening moment, and I definitely understand yours, like, to the T. I get it, Murray. But my awakening moment was seeing beauty be brought forth through pain.
Yeah.
And I'll say this too.
That's a metaphor for life.
And I would say this too. Yeah. The pain that my wife was experiencing, for me, it was pleasurable. And what I mean by that, 9 months before, it was.
What you mean by that?
Yeah, right. What do I mean by that? What you mean by that? 9 months before, our moment of pleasure, therefore 9 months later produced her moment of pain, that therefore produced the beauty in our child. And I tell men, so for me, that was the awakening moment, to literally watch. I know it might sound crazy, the head go like this and be shaped differently and come out of come out of my wife. It's two sides of the knees you can be on, as I like to say, when you're in that hospital. You can be on the top side, and and just be like, all right, whatever happens down there happens. I don't see it. Right. Or you can be on the bottom side, like in there, like I'm going to see everything. And for me, I was in there. I was going to see everything. And
I probably would have fainted.
Yeah, well, it's a crazy story. Second child, I don't know why I had seen this before, but my second child, Charlie, I almost fainted.
Wow.
Like, bro, like grown man. They was like, get him. I was like, leave me alone. Like, bro, like almost, bro, like, no, bro, almost like, I was like, literally, bro, like, literally, I kid you not, like, almost passed out, grown man on the floor. Wife in the, they're like, yeah, I'm like, I don't need y'all to get me.
Look at this joker here.
If I could really say, you know what, I'm gonna stop by saying what I should say. But look at this joker here. But anyway, so watching, back to it, but watching, this moment of pain, and I say my wife had natural birth. People say, well, the only way to have a natural birth is to not take an epidural. Well, she put the epidural in. She got the epidural. By the time, before the epidural could hit, every child she done had the baby. It's like, you might as well just waited. But anyway, but I say she had them natural. She did, and she went through all of the ins and outs and the pain that it took to bring forth our children to this world. And so to watch that moment, and I watched it 3 times, and watched it 3 times. That right there is like, wow. Like, and then like you said too, I think, and I didn't even think about it, but I remember that drive home, putting the child in. It's like, and for me, it was a short drive too, because we actually kind of we live right around the corner from the hospital. But that drive home, I was like, yo, like, I got a kid in here. Bro, I got
that's a different.
You're like, man, turn my turns to the on, drive slow. Like you're not moving. Yeah. Like, you get in the car and drive, you just boom, 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 see, you just kind of move, you go, it's all, but like you move differently in that moment, and this is a lot different now, because like I said, I'm in 3 deep, right, and another one on the way, like, so, but I do remember that moment too, and that was a very impactful moment. It's like, you just moving differently, man, and so
is naturally up.
I think
I'm getting mad at people for like cutting me off on the street. Like,
I got a baby on board,
brand new baby in the car. What is you doing?
Man, like, bro,
it's different, man.
That was my
and on top of that, Gab had just had a C-section, right?
So that's what I was about to say too.
Stitches in her stomach, and I'm trying to like
move. Man.
So it was for me, it was a double. Like, I'm trying to like make sure she's straight and
man,
he's straight.
Yeah, my wife, man, she just spit him out and keep it moving. Hey, I mean, that's like I said, if
be like that sometimes.
If I don't do something, we'll have enough babies for everybody. And so yeah, anyways, that's another conversation for another day. Yeah. But man, that was my awakening moment. And like literally, man, watching, being reminded in that moment of pain and watching on the bottom side of those knees and watching and being up in there, watching that beautiful baby come forth in this moment of pain. Yeah. I was reminded of that moment of pleasure that we had 9 months before. I'm like, dang, what was pleasurable for me is painful for her. Yeah. And wow. And it really, what it did, man, it really did. I knew I loved my wife. I'll say this too, man. I knew I loved my mom too, but it made me appreciate my mom more. It made me appreciate really every woman in my life more. The crazy part, Brandon, looking back on it, I've had, coming out of college, I was the first, as I know, of my friends to have children, get married and have children. And some of my constituents and people that weren't like close friends, but I was a barber, I was well-known, whatever, associated with. So I had guys that, through being a barber, I would counsel and we would talk relationship, that's what you do. And I've had guys call me that were not my closest friends, but they know, hey, Rod, I see, you had this, had that, what kind of advice can you give me? And I told one, and every man I've told that asked me that, I tell him this. And I remember one of my boys from college, he was a football player, good dude. He called me, he was like, yo, man. And he was telling me some of the things he was going through with his baby mama. And I was like, look, at the end of the day, I was sharing with him things that had been shared with me from Uncle Darnell. Okay. He was like, man, your wife, shout out to Uncle Darnell. Like, I appreciate, like, yo, I love you, bro. Like, y'all don't understand. We got he's Uncle Darnell. Like, he's Uncle Darnell. He gonna give you some wisdom. Yeah. But he was telling me, like, when Brittany first got pregnant, like, yo, man, like, her body's gonna change and this gonna happen. He would just get, like, notice. So he was like, man, so just, he was giving me the scoop on how I could deal with her through her changes. Yep. And I needed that, man. Like, so when I was in a position to give that to somebody else, he was like, telling me some of the struggles that they were having. Like, I know, I'm trying to get to the city, but I'm not there yet. And I said, but look here, at the end of the day, bro, you got to understand, she's there, you ain't there. Right. And just able to, and she's going through the changes, you're not going through those changes. Right. So she hear what you're saying, but until you get there, and even if you are there, you're not experiencing it the way she is. Mm-hmm. So you just going to have to eat that. You just gonna have to eat whatever coming, like whatever frustration, whatever is coming off. Your job there is to take it. You've been built to take it, if that means anything. And that's the best way I could put it. And I get passionate about it because I was able to share something with him, some nuggets with him. And I said, and when that time comes, you need to get yourself in a position so you can be there. So when that time comes, I said, you need to be on the downward side. Yeah. Of those knees, because it will change how it will enhance. If you love her, it's going to enhance it. It's going to take it to a whole nother level. And your appreciation for her, I said, and so you're going to be strengthened as a man and ultimately as a father and as a stable force for her and the child. So I pray that helps somebody.
I realize like change is inevitable, and specifically right now I'm talking about the love, like you said. Yeah. The love I had for my wife, the mother of my children at the time, it was what it was. But after we started having kids, bro, it's like, man, it reached a whole new level.
Whole nother level,
whole nother level. Oh man, whole nother level. Yes. And I don't really know how to articulate it in a way that a lot of people can understand it. But if you know, like if you know what I'm talking about, you know it. Like you just know, bro. Like it's just different. We
can move on right there.
What was the biggest learning curve? Anything, you know what I'm saying? Like
I think you get comfortable with them needing mama. Yeah, and I know you're gonna pick it up in a minute, but you get comfortable. So the biggest learning curve is realizing, okay, here it is, that me going to work and providing. Now, let me also note this. As long as we've had kids, me and my wife have co-labored to provide for our household. Right. So she works. There was 1 year, 2018 into 2019, that she wanted to stay home, and I was the sole provider financially in the home. And I'm so glad she went back to work, baby. I'm so glad. Oh man. Anyway, but she needed that time. She wanted that time. We needed it, and I needed it too. It was some things I learned about myself as a man. But specifically, especially during that year, because I was the only one going to work and coming home, right? Just because you go to work and come home, that's not it. That's not the biggest learning curve. Like, there's so much more. And like, no, here's the deal.
And being in the house don't
mean being present. Yeah, that's it. But there was more to it than just going to work and coming home. Providing and coming home, and like you said, being in the house does not mean you're present. Because at the end of the day, when you look at it, you can we tend to say as people, well, I ain't doing this and I ain't doing that. I ain't out here, trying to holler at other women, or I'm not out here. You start naming all the things that you're not doing.
What you want, a cookie?
Yeah.
That's what you supposed to be doing.
And I never did that. But I'm saying, but as people, I never did that. My wife. God is my witness. I never.
But men think a lot. Yeah,
but I never thought about that. But a lot of times, just as people, I know how people think. We tend to point out all the things that we don't do to justify the things that we really aren't. Look,
I ain't cheating on you.
Yeah, I ain't doing this.
I ain't running around the
At least I come home, but it's like, bro, it's still more than that. I know you come home, but I need you to be here. I need you to do something. I need you to change a diaper.
Help.
Like, it's
help.
And I ain't gonna lie.
And she shouldn't have to ask you.
She shouldn't have. Sometimes. I get into the Kevin Hart spirit, and I be like, the exactly you, I exactly like I know the baby's diaper the amazing baby's diaper needs to be changed.
But I'm just gonna wait.
Until you.
I don't
feel like changing the diaper. And my wife gonna be mad. Even though you don't change diapers all day, I know it's selfish. Y'all gonna be mad at me. Can I just be honest?
Hey, this is a
Gentleman's Guy podcast.
We keeping it real with y'all right now.
So the biggest, I'll say it again. I'll leave it there. The biggest learning curve. Just because you go out and provide, it's not everything. And I'm an affectionate father. So even though I'm in the home, I'm not. I wasn't of the generation, it was a generation before, way like 3 generations before us, that, that man went to work, come home, no affection, no love, no this. My father-in-law right now would tell me like, man, my daddy never told me that. He said sometimes he didn't tell me that he loved me and or whatever, or give me a hug. So he told me that because he was investing in me as a father. So when I had my kids, I wanted to hug them all the time, but it's, again, they were of a different generation. His father, they were of a different generation, and so because of that, he was of a different thought process. Our dad, he was affectionate, he wasn't non-affectionate, and him and my father-in-law, they're about the same age, and so watching how my father-in-law dealt with his girls, even as I met my wife in their later years, later obviously when we were in college, I'm able to pull from him and then transfer that over into how I deal with my girls. So just because you're going to provide doesn't mean that's everything, and just because you're in the home doesn't mean you're actually actively present. And so
I need you.
That makes sense.
Nah, I'm speaking as if I'm the wife or whatever, but I need you to be emotionally available. You know what I'm saying? Fully transparent.
Yeah, man.
When I tell you how I feel about something, that you don't bite my head off, and you make an effort to be better. Rather than build up a wall
of excuses, or rather trying to excuse your behavior.
And I'm again
trying to defend your behavior.
Like, naturally, your defense mechanisms go up, and you thinking that you're in an argument,
being attacked.
Like, you feel attacked.
I'm with it,
and I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from experience, and you, like I said, you probably feel the same way in different.
It's been the same.
But when you take a step, now over time we've learned how to best communicate with each other. But it's a thing I like to call daddy privilege.
Come on, now.
And
hold on. Let me say I like that. I like the term. Let me say that I like the term. But go ahead, explain it.
I mean, it ain't nothing like profound or anything. It's really common sense. It's like we all have privileges in the world, right? And it's up to the person to recognize when you have a certain privilege. And that's another conversation for another day.
And do something about it.
And do something about it to make the
equal the playing field. Equal the playing field.
Exactly. So this dawned on me probably maybe a year or so ago. Now, mind you, my oldest boy, Brandon, he's 4 now. So it
took me 3 years.
It really clicked.
It took me 3 years to get it.
It really clicked for me. I was like, because she kept talking about certain things. No, I shouldn't have to ask you to do this. I shouldn't have to ask you to do that. And and then like she'll come into the room and I could be chilling. I could be chilling by myself, doing whatever I want to do. Not even conscious, like having a conscious mindset of, she isn't allowed to just sit there and chill by herself when she got 2 little rugrats pulling on her leg or whining in her face just because she's there.
Right now, my wife is like, yes, look, yeah. Right now, that's what she's saying. But go ahead.
But it's daddy privilege, man. Because again, the child has a different connection to the mom, man. Like, the child was in her side of her for 9 months.
Then the mom nurses the child, breastfeeds that child. Yes,
you got different hormones going. It's just different. It's a different connection. And as the daddy, it's easy to be present, but not be present. You know what I mean? Going back to what we mentioned earlier.
You're there, but not present. You're there, but not truly present.
And it starts as, when they're really, really small kids. Because everything that happened when they're small, it's just going to be magnified when they become teenagers and so on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, real talk.
So you have to recognize these things while you're in the middle of it, because it don't make no sense to say, well, I messed up back then. It's like, no, nigga, you in this now. We're in this now. You know what I'm saying?
We've been trying to talk real, but you should leave it too in there. We've been trying to be real and trying to, balance being real and authentic, but politically correct.
Look
sometimes you just gotta say how you feel. But go ahead, you ain't gotta apologize. I'm laughing. You don't need to apologize for nothing. You said how you feel, and look, I agree with you.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But bro, it's like going back to daddy privilege again.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Boy, you messed me up. No, daddy. It's like you have to realize that there's a different connection between the child and the mom versus the child and the dad.
Yeah,
and it's not fair for you to exploit that in a way that
benefits you personally. Yeah.
And you don't even realize it. I didn't realize it until she really pointed out multiple times.
All the time. Look, but let me say this. So then I started breaking it down. And I was sharing with another somebody at work. I was like, man, you know what? That mom, the mother is always 9 months ahead of the father. And I'll share this with you too. Okay, y'all know what I mean. They have the child. They the child is conceived. They go 9 months with that child, eating what they eat, feeling what they feel. Every emotion that mother feels, that child feels. Good, bad, ugly, and different.
Food.
The food that they eat, that child is experiencing it. You know what I'm saying? All the ups and the downs, the pains and the aches, that child is sometimes the cause of it, but they're feeling and experiencing that with the mother. Then you have the child. Something that when I saw my wife birth our children, I was like, God, I was thanking God. I know it. I thanked God that I was a man because I don't want to go through that. Yeah. I'm just gonna keep it 100. Like, I don't want to go through that.
You know, they say if men had to give birth, it'd be a lot less people in the world.
It'd be a lot less people. It'd be nobody. I'm good. I'm good. So then the mother has the child, goes through that. You know, it's a beautiful experience, but it's a traumatic experience too.
Right.
In some different ways. And then they give of their body even the more and breastfeed that child for at least 6 months. Well, she did maybe like a year. Okay. Maybe it was less. It was like 9. It wasn't a year for the first one. It was longer than 6 months. I don't think it was a full year. The second one, it was about roughly the same, maybe a little less. And we got to eat it. Look, it was 6 months. At the 6 month mark, Brittany was like, "That's it." Yeah. That's how and so she, she does that. You breastfeed that child, and and even with breastfeeding, your body is producing something because of this child. Because of this relationship with this child, my body is producing something that otherwise it wouldn't produce. That being milk, and then I'm able to take that and use it to nurse this child. That is profound, and I have taken advantage of that connection as our children have grown up. Like you said, daddy privilege. As they have grown up, I've done it unknowingly for a very long time. And Brittany was pointing out. I'm like, all right.
Why you always
but I get it. And like I said, so I took advantage of it for a while. And so then that child grows up and they naturally go to mama. With mama. I'm sorry, they need apple juice. They need this and they need that.
And so daddy right here.
Your daddy right here. He ain't doing nothing. He ain't doing nothing. I'm like, I was doing something.
I'm here playing 2K.
Won't doing nothing, you know what I'm saying? And so, at the end of the day, on one level, I was not knowledgeable of it. When I became enlightened and then really began to put the specifics and really dive into and talk about and really communicate, everything I just shared with you about the mother in those 9 months and this, that, and the third, which really came by way of me sharing it with another father to be and things like that, and I'm looking back at myself, because I think sometimes people, we love giving information, but we don't love looking back and self-reflecting on what we give out. And I've made that a consistent practice, whether it be personally, whether it be professionally, whether it be even ministerially, because some folk they want to preach to you, but they don't want to turn inward and look back at themselves. And I never want to be that person, because I believe when you're able to self-reflect in every area, especially with what you preach and what you teach and what you put out, that builds credibility. To me, it does. At least it has for me. So neither here nor there. But point was, man, like I did it unknowingly, daddy privilege. And then it was like, and it's, sometimes I be, like you need to change it. Like then, you pull a Kevin Hart. Exactly. You pull it. But
look, you smell that? Oh, I
didn't even know. Going good well, you've been smelling that stinky booty all the time. So, but daddy privilege, man, and I think one of the best things that we can do is not like once you recognize it, you acknowledge it. Number one, again, but now you take intentional steps.
What are you gonna do with that information?
To do something about it, to level out or make the playing field equal, because y'all are equal partners. My wife, she goes to work just like I go to work. Right? She, we both leave the house. Well, she's at home now. She's an educator, but at the end of the day, like I'm even able, when I'm on my days off, I'm watching what she's doing at home. Like she's doing more work at home, teaching the kids than she did in the school.
Wow.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like legit, when you're really doing it the right way, you're really legitimately giving it the energy that it deserves.
Look, his wife is a real teacher. She loves kids, and she
legit, bro.
Her
like
job.
She loves it, man. Passionate, man. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And
like
God has
Smith
gifted
over
both of us. I teach, I educate in a totally different way, and with my career field. But that's a gift.
Yeah.
But I literally see what she puts out. And so I've been making intentional steps, and I can say this now to make sure that I equal the plan for that I'm giving. And so one of my greatest rewards as a father right now is seeing what is coming back from me to my children. Man, they can't. I come home, they're like, oh, dad, all over me. Not just because I'm daddy, but because of how I invest in them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it took me longer to grasp it and understand it, grow into the father that I am now. It took me 4 years to become the father that I am today.
For sure.
You know, like my man Eric Thomas says, you said it takes 21 years to be 21. You know what I'm saying? Like it take, it's like the point is like nothing happens overnight. And for fathers, and I'll say this, it does take us longer to grow into the level of support beyond going to work and emotional support and things that the mother offers than the mother. Like it takes us longer to get to that point than it does for the mother. The mother, they just turn it on and they just run.
This is a common thing that happens, specifically with couples, men and women. I'm speaking from experience, but it's so easy to assume that the mom is better at certain things because we have been socialized to think certain stereotypical things. That's real. That's about women and men.
That's valid. Right? I can't disagree.
Something as simple as swaddling the infant.
No, I'm in the swaddle king.
My swaddle game was on point at eventually.
Yes, sir. No, I was there from the beginning.
But from the beginning, or not even swaddle, but you can think about anything that's attributed to being a parent or being a mother, and all the stereotypes, the gender stereotypes that we put onto the mother.
Yeah, that's legit.
And I can really, I don't remember the specific instance, but I can really recall me saying to her, "But you're just better at this," and she's like, "No, I'm not better at this. I'm not better at this. I'm just making an effort to do it, and the more that I make an effort, the better I become at this specific task."
She sound like Brittany.
Yeah,
like we've been going through. We're
this is a commmen thing that happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. It's common
with all parents. You know,
you're right, bro.
But we gonna leave it right there for now. This is the first conversation of a much larger conversation. Talking about fatherhood, parenting. You know, the whole nine. Again, this is the Gentleman's Guide podcast. Please like, subscribe, share, Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the whole nine.
Come on now. Everything.
And
all we're seeking to do is unpack manhood one day at a time.
One day at a time.
One day at a time. You sure? That's what we're trying to do?
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. That's what we did today.
I'm your boy, B. Barnes.
Gerard Barnes.
And we will see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.